present is Haberdasher's Monmouth School, represented by Becky S. Wilkins. Becky S. Wilkins is the Director of Admissions and Marketing. Can we have haberdashers now?
Yeah, thank you for your introduction. Obviously, I'm not Becky. Becky's had to change plans very, very last minute. But my name is Mike and I manage the admissions for the school as well. So Becky and I have been working together for a few years now. And we've both recently joined Haberdashers Monmouth, which is obviously very, very exciting as well. I'm just in the process of loading up our presentation. So that should be coming up any moment now. Okay, so if I just make sure that that is nice and clear for everybody to see. Okay, so if I just start from the top, so there's one of our year 2 pupils here. So I think she's always a really nice example of almost the diversity of children that we have at Haberdashers Monmouth. As I mentioned, obviously my name is Mike and I manage the admissions all the way from nursery. So in terms of our youngest pupils who will join us from the day that they turn 3 all the way through until the end of year 13, where obviously our 18-year-olds will start to look at moving on to university and further education as well. A little bit about me. So I'm very much a local lad. I mean, Monmouth is on the English-Welsh border. I grew up about 20 miles away from here. So in terms of education in the area, we are very, very lucky in terms of the diversity that is on offer. This is my 3rd year now in terms of an admissions role. And the big thing for me is finding the right school for the right child. Everybody is different in terms of the backgrounds, whether they are international boarders, maybe they're military families. It might be a local day pupil as well. And everybody is different with how they respond to moving school. Obviously, as the main face for the admissions and for new parents, obviously my job is to be here to support you. But something that I really, really enjoy more than anything is just getting to know each individual student. Like I said, whether it's a 3-year-old, whether it's a 15, 16-year-old from overseas as well, it's just really, really nice to get to know what makes that pupil tick and obviously what they're wanting to get out of their time at Haberdashers Monmouth too. So I lead a wonderful team. Obviously, I know Becky has been referenced, so she is the Director of Admissions and Marketing, and then I lead the admissions part. So we're a team of 3, so we're a very busy team of 3, but every day is fantastic in terms of just being able to obviously move families' applications forward, but also being able to do it with a smile on the face as well. Okay, now in terms of an overview to the school, so it's quite a historical school. As of the end of the last academic year in July 2024 last year, we were 2 separate schools. So we had Haberdashers Boys School and then we had Haberdashers Girls School. Now both schools are just within a 10-minute walk of each other as well, but we are now co-educational, as the first point mentions. It was quite a historic move because obviously, having been founded in 1614, there was a lot of history in terms of having almost a split sex education, in terms of obviously girls being on one side, boys being on their own site. But the merger that took place at the start of this academic year has been obviously quite transitional, but it's been really, really rewarding and really nice to see everybody grow as well. As I've mentioned previously, so we support children from nursery all the way through to year 13. We do have a number of different options in terms of local day pupils, but we've got boarding houses as well, which I'll touch on slightly later, as well as day boarding as well. Now, day boarding is almost a mixture of the two in terms of day pupils. They will have access to the boarding houses of an evening and until they get picked up as late as 9 o'clock. Again, it's just to support each family with their with parents' logistics. We do have a number of parents who work in Cardiff, maybe in Birmingham, maybe in Bristol, maybe in London, and we appreciate obviously their working day can be quite long as well. Hence why we want to make sure that everybody is looked after in whatever capacity. Our boarding starts from age 7, which is the equivalent of year 3. And what is really, really nice about Haberdashers Monmouth is the location more than anything. We're a really, really nice town, which we will delve into slightly more as we go through. But being on the English and Welsh border, we almost get the best of both, which is really, really nice. We're a really green environment, lots of open space, lots of fresh air as well, for our obviously around 800 pupils to enjoy. Okay, boarding houses are specific for certain age groups. So our youngest one is called Mono House. So that's for year 3 to year 8 boarders. And then as soon as children get into year 9, they will go into either a girls' boarding house or a boys' boarding house. Okay, so we have a girls' boarding house for years 9 to 11, and then for sixth form, and exactly the same setup for the boys as well. Academically, we've got a really broad variety of GCSE and A-level options as well, but we also offer BTECs too, which I know is something which is really, really important. Again, making sure we are the right school for that individual child. And we're actually, in terms of the bottom point about scholarships, today is the final day for our year 7 scholar assessments as well. So those are for children who are 11 or who will be joining year 7 in when they are 11 years old, year 9 when they're 13, or year 12 when they are 16. Okay, so those scholarships could be in sports, it could be academic, it could be drama, it could be dance, DT, sustainability, which is one of our pillars that we'll talk about slightly later. But we've got a really broad offer in a fantastic location for all families. So in terms of a slight sneak peek, I will turn myself down and obviously share the video in due course. On the right-hand side, that's just a snapshot of our youngest boarding house, which is for pupils from year 3 to year 8. So I'll now play the video.
Good morning. Well done.
Okay, so that's one of our introductory videos, which I think just provides a really nice snapshot in terms of the variety of things which are on offer. And you may well have clocked in terms of Jimmy Choo appeared in that video. So in terms of the textiles and the production side of things, we've got a really good working relationship with him. He quite often comes in to do seminars and seminars and introductory conversations for all sorts of pupils, whether they are year 2 age all the way through until our A-level pupils as well. Oh, let me move on next. So I reference the location in terms of, as the arrow shows, what we are very much a border town. When it comes to rugby, it's very, very competitive between the Welsh contingent and the English contingent. A bit of a fun fact in terms of Monmouth is the 5th happiest place to live in the UK. So I'm not too sure where number 1 to 4 will be. But walking around the town, everybody is very, very friendly. And there's a lot of history as well. So there's a lot of diversity in the local population. We are a town centre location as well, with the prep and senior school. So that is how the old boys and old girls schools have changed. The prep is only a 10-minute walk away from the senior school. So pupils will move about quite a bit as well. And they'll have that independence attendance in terms of making sure they're in the right place at the right time. But we appreciate for our slightly younger pupils in particular that they will obviously need a helping hand with that. Specifically, we're in the Wye Valley, so Simmons Yacht is a big popular landmark nearby, and again, it just contributes to that almost outside of big city feel, which is something we are really, really proud of here. Monmouth has a capacity of about 10,000 pupils. We have, as of today, I think 930 pupils from nursery through to year 13. So again, we're a good part of the local community, which is very, very important. This is just a snapshot, okay, in terms of Monmouth. So this is the railway bridge, which isn't too far away from here. But as you can see, lots of greenery, lots of open space, and just a really nice environment, in particular during the summer. As a few of the chaps have referred to earlier, obviously Britain is slightly different to Nigeria in terms of its climate, but when it is dry and sunny, it is lovely. So 4 pillars, again, all of which were referenced in that video slightly earlier on. So sport and outdoor activities, we've got about 62 acres of land, which will be used to support children in sports. So whether that is traditional sports like rugby, football, cricket, or if it's slightly more niche sports in terms of rowing in particular is really, really popular, but then also things like tennis, badminton. We've got 2 fully sized 25-meter swimming pools as well. So there's plenty of opportunity for children who maybe come here with a certain interest, as well as for those who want to have a go at slightly different activities. Whilst we're on the topic of activities, we have something called the Monmouth 100. So all of our pupils from year 7 upwards will have exposure to over 100 extracurricular activities. We've obviously referenced sports, but that could be more of the STEM, so science, engineering, maths backgrounds. Sustainability is a big part of who we are, but also things in terms of rock climbing, life saving, sign language. All of those sorts of activities are available on a daily basis. Music, dance, and drama. Again, obviously, the performing arts is very, very big here. We've got 2 purpose-built performing arts centres with brand new dance studios in as well. The dedicated music school, again, is a really nice focal point. And then the drama productions that we do they are split over both sites, but in terms of productions for the senior school, that will take place in the Blake Theatre. The Blake Theatre is actually a public theatre as well, so we often have a number of external speakers who come in and deliver their speeches as well. So I know we've had a number of Welsh rugby players. Sam Warburton has come over, but also explorers in terms of Ben Fogle is doing a very, very popular one over the next few weeks. Sustainability, again, it's just making sure that what we are doing is helping to support the future of the school in the local area. And then I know I mentioned about Jimmy Choo when it comes to the design, the fashion and the textiles elements as well. Each of those have their own dedicated labs. So again, as part of the refurbishment over the summer, we were able to develop dedicated spaces for each of those subjects, which will then be taught by specialist subject teachers. So boarding, going into it a little bit more. So boarding starts from year 3. We've got one house called our Mono House, which is for year 3 to year 8 boarders. And that has a capacity of, it has a capacity of about 50. So again, we've got about 2/3 in there at the minute, which is nice. And then we have a higher proportion of boarders in the senior school. A lot of our boarders, in terms of British boarders, are those of forces backgrounds, but especially in the senior boarding houses, we've got a really nice diversity of international pupils as well. We've got a number from Europe, we've got a number from different parts of Africa, we've got a number coming from Asia as well. So again, that diversity is really, really important for us. Those boarders will be split over 5 different boarding houses. So all of the girls are at the top. All of the girls are up at the top. So year 3 to year 13 girls are up at the top, and then the boys from year 9 will be based down the bottom, again, each in an individual house there. Here's just a few snapshots. So we've got an example of our year 9 to year 11 house on the left-hand side, which is called TD, so Twiston Davis. And again, you can see the rooms that there are about 4 beds in each. And then on the right side, we've got our sixth form boys boarding house, which is just over the way from where I'm currently sat. And again, there's a big focus there in preparing the boys for obviously university in terms of applications, but also further education as well. And you can see it's a slightly more traditional setup, which is again really nice in terms of the character and the feel for the school. On the girls' side, so you can see on the left-hand side that we've got, both of these pictures actually are from our sixth form girls' boarding house. Everybody in sixth form will have their own bedroom. So that is for boys and for girls from year 12 upwards. Again, with an ensuite, which is obviously nice for their privacy, but also preparing them for the first year in university halls of residence. And then on the right-hand side, in terms of just a bit of a shared social space, and again, it's really, really nice because there'll be plenty of activities put on each evening, but then there'll also be weekend trips as well, which is, again, really popular just for giving kids the freedom to unwind after what has been a very busy week at school. So, why should families come to visit Haberdashers Monmouth? It's obviously it's a school with a lot of history, but it's very much in the modern world as well. We were very, very fortunate in terms of the Haberdashers almost umbrella company. We've been very fortunate in terms of the investment that we've received. And obviously I mentioned there in terms of the Haberdashers family of schools. So I think we're one of 7 schools. There are some further north of England, and then you've got some which are more over London way as well. I referenced the scholarships that are available. So for year 7, year 9 and year 12 entry, the location, without going on too much into detail, it's just really, really nice because it's a focal point of the town. Everybody is very, very friendly and supportive as well, but also we've got very good travel links too. So Bristol and Birmingham airports are probably about an hour or so away. Heathrow is ever so slightly further, probably more in terms of the 2.5 hour range. But as the penultimate point says there, we run services which go to all airports to support pupils with their travel for holidays, but also return to school as well. The fees are competitive. People will obviously be well aware of VAT, and the fees that we've agreed on and have released. It very much factors in all of the good offerings that we have, but it's also making sure it's as competitive as possible. And then weekends, even though children can go out and there'll be weekly trips every single Sunday, there are rest weekends. So that is usually every 3rd weekend. It's almost a quieter weekend where there are still plenty of activities, but there's not as much of an academic focus. So that's a good opportunity for children to potentially travel home for the weekend. Obviously, if they're based further afield, they can stay on campus too. But it's just a really nice balance just to make sure that kids obviously work hard when they're here, but they can also play hard when it comes to their social and free time as well. So that is the end. So obviously, any questions, please do let me know.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mark, for that presentation. Okay, so parents, it's time to ask your questions. Though our time is fast spent, but we can still give a room for 1 or 2 questions, especially if you want to ask the question live. Okay, so Mr. Mike Donnell, what support does your school have for children who learn specially, like special education needs children? What support does your school have for them?
Yeah, no, of course. So in terms of the support that we've got on offer, it is very much specific on the pupil. There are some pupils who require one-to-one specialist support, which we have available. There are some children who maybe do small group work instead, in terms of it's a slightly smaller learning environment. There are some children who just need the reassurance of a safe place to go if they feel like they're getting overwhelmed ever so slightly. In terms of almost what that looks like from an admissions perspective, in terms of obviously for my role, any family who comes to us and they say, Mike, do you know what, my son or daughter might be dyslexic or require some additional learning support, then what will happen is obviously we will get all the information that we need from the family, but we are also really keen to spend time with the pupil and the parents as well, whether that's in person or whether that's in a almost like an online forum or a call like we're doing at the minute. What is really nice as well is the additional support we don't charge for. So again, that's just really supporting the accessibility and making sure we can support as many families as possible. But what is really, really nice, again, factoring in everything that the school has to offer in the local area. The kids who come here may be needing some additional support. They settle in really, really quickly, and we'll do things at their own pace as well, just to make sure they feel really comfortable.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your presentation.